Hey everybody, Spidey here, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Welcome to the Marvel Card News. We are going to dive right in it. This week is the National, the largest trading card show of the year. It is a sports emphasis trade show. However, there are Marvel cards there, and there's some news. First bit of news was Gary Vee. And actually, so in 2021, Gary Vee was the first post I made about Marvel cards on my Instagram channel. Check it out.
The way I believe.
Marvel cards.
Marvel cards, I have like 6 random weird things I bought, which were like stickers from the 70s. None of the modern 90, 91 stuff, Upper Deck, but I think it's underrated, and I think I'm about to start doing some real investigation. I think in general, DC and Marvel comic book cards can have a moment. Underrated.
That really got a lot of excitement around Marvel cards started, along with some couple of big sales. Well, this week, Gary Vee tweeted out about comic cards. And this is what that tweet from Gary had to say. Anyone with vintage comic book cards at National come by pre-1995. The question that reading this tweet had me wonder, is he saying vintage cards to him are pre-1995? Or is he saying that there's a booth labeled 1995? And I say that because I've seen where other people, put out comments or tweets such as, come see us at this place and this place. And the numbers have been similar, 4 digits. But I think he's referring to what he considers the dates of vintage cards, pre-1995. Now, I can't say that disagree with the date, but I think, when you're looking at 95, you're talking about 27 years ago. So I think he's saying like anything pre-1995 is vintage to him. That's odd, I guess, because I'm older, but that doesn't seem vintage to me. For me, vintage is pre-90 would be pre-vintage, but, I like that he's talking about comic book cards. You don't hear that phrase as much anymore, although that is what I called trading cards growing up. It was comic book cards, not just Marvel cards. So I've got to wonder, Gary, did you find any? Did anybody bring you any pre-1995 non-PMG comic book cards? Excited to see that you're taking an interest in the hobby. And hope you found what you were looking for. And this brings me to what I'm most excited to talk about this week when it comes to the Marvel card news. And that is that we had our first in-hand sighting of a Spider-Man metal card. Now, we've seen images for Spider-Man metal, but this is one in hand. And it's really curious what this card tells us about Spider-Man metal and why they chose this card. So apparently Upper Deck has a booth at the National, and there they have a very, very few Marvel cards. The display, I think, was pretty disappointing to most Marvel card fans, because in some ways it lets us know where Marvel cards fits in Upper Deck's view of all the product offerings that they have. Now, one of my friends went by the Upper Deck booth, snapped a couple of photos, threw it up on a Facebook group, and someone spotted the Spider-Man card from Spider-Man Metal. Now, in this display, you had various things, but over here on the side, you had the Spider-Man card. And what does this tell us? Well, number one, it's an achievement card. The gold bullion is not a card that will be pack pulled. I think this is why they chose this card, because to remove a card that would be in the pack, would be not great, right? And especially an insert of some kind. But the Spider-Man metal gold bullion is an achievement card. It will never be in a pack. A card that you actually would earn on e-pack by completing a set of achievements. Now, I don't know where this particular card's gonna rank in terms of the difficulty of the achievement, but I think they chose it because it's not a pack pull card. Now, it has very similar foiling from the X-Men Metal Gold Bullion achievements, and I think the community responded pretty strongly, liking these cards. I know that I like them. I can assure you they look better in hand than they do in the photos, and I can tell you that Matt Combs, the person who snapped these photos and gave them to me, he said that it certainly looks gorgeous in hand. So we're familiar with the type of insert, but the image on the front, we've seen this before, Upper Deck. It is a reused art from the Greatest Battles set. Take a look at it here. So we see that it's the same unmasked, web-swinging Peter Parker Spider-Man. And I'm going to tell you, I actually love the image and I actually love the way it looks on the gold bullion. So I'm not mad about the way the card looks, but there is some disappointment when Upper Deck does use art that's already been used on another Marvel card. Now, full disclaimer, the Greatest Heroes set is actually from Rittenhouse, not Upper Deck. So there's a chance that Upper Deck is not paying attention to the older Rittenhouse catalog in determining what images they use. But even that doesn't allow us to quite let Upper Deck off the hook, because they've reused their own images over and over again for their cards. And I don't know why they have to choose what they choose, or why they choose what they choose, or even who is choosing the art sometimes, but it does upset a lot of people when reused art, especially from comic books, is being reused on these cards. Why? Because there's so much to choose from. There is so much amazing art out there, especially of Peter Parker Spider-Man. Like, who has more art on a comic book than him? Superman and Batman? Outside of that, it's Spider-Man. Like, there's plenty to choose from, and especially a lot of great new modern art that I think would look stunning, absolutely stunning on a trading card. But either way, it's so good to see this, because what can we start to surmise when we're seeing actual product in hand at an Upper Deck booth? Well, that we're getting closer to the actual release. Like, they've actually printed cards. It's actually in hand. It's the achievement card, which is in like a journey of collecting. Like, this is the last card someone's going to have an opportunity to get. You're going to get physical hobby boxes, and you're going to get e-pack, and then you're going to get achievements. So are we at the end of the line of the cards being produced? Because Blowout cards, they now have the October 28th as the release date of Spider-Man Metal on their website. However, Dave and Adams, big time distributor of cards, especially Marvel cards, they still have August 10th. So now by the time you watch this, that date could change, but it still leaves like some, wonderings. Although everyone that I've talked to, like actually had on the phone, anything they've said seems to indicate that later in the year is more likely for when we will receive Spider-Man Metal. Also at the National, this is really not news, but I did want to share it with the community who was unable to travel to the event. We had a bunch of one-of-one sightings. We're talking about big time Marvel cards, one-of-one sightings. We had these Red Spectrum Spider-Mans that are there, that are in par for the courses display at National. Beautiful set of Marvel cards from Marvel Masterpieces 2016, Marvel Masterpieces 2018. Then you have the Golden Booth, where you have all these one-of-one, these gold PMG one-of-one trading cards here, a variety of characters from the 2015 Flair Retro set and the 2017 Flair Ultra Spider-Man set, which outside of the 2018 Flair Ultra X-Men is the only place that you can get gold one-of-one PMGs. And of course, they do have the crown jewel of the gold one-of-one PMGs, which is Spider-Man. Now there's two Spider-Man gold one-of-ones. There's 2015 and then there's 2017. And some people would say the 2015 is the crown jewel of the gold one-of-ones, and some would say it's the 2017. I say it's up to you, right? But as someone who still has a small bit of ownership in the gold one-of-one 2017 Spider-Man, and who has gotten to enjoy that card in this room right here, it is definitely my favorite of the two, and you can see it here at the top of the display. Also, someone found images of the one-of-one Wolverine from X-Men Metal Universe, and I thought I would share it as well because it was technically a one-of-one sighting for this week. In Comic Con news, we have the Tampa Bay Comic Con going on through July 29th through July 31st. And the reason this is making the Marvel card news is because of the artists from the 1995 Marvel Masterpieces. We're talking about Scallion, Nelson, DeVries. These guys make up most of the art from the 1995 Marvel Masterpieces set, which is just another set that I very much enjoy. And all three of them are gonna be at this con hanging out for the first time in 27 years. DeVries is even gonna have some original art there for you to enjoy, such as this recreation of Ghost Rider. If any of my Marvel card friends are there and you're able to talk to them, tell them Spidey sent you and tell them I said hello. All right, now for a bit of speculation. Now, I don't know if this is true, but it just has me wondering to hear from Upper Deck that they're having supply chain issues to get product out, and that's created by a material shortage. Well, while I was watching the San Diego Comic Con unfold last weekend, in the comic book world, I kept hearing about foil books. Foil books this, foil books that. And then it showed up on Whatnot, where Rob Liefeld was showing off his latest foil books. And why am I pointing this out? Well, a lot of Marvel cards are made with foiling. Yet, I mean, you have paper, cardboard, you have ink, you have foiling, and whatever else that makes up the structure of a comic book is similar in trading cards, I would suspect. Now, granted, I'm not an engineer and I have never been a part of making these products, so again, this is the part of the speculating news here, and Upper Deck would love to hear more details from you if you want to do that. However, the comic book industry is able to put out these books, but yet we're struggling from a trading card set. And maybe it's because what material is available is going to hockey. I don't know. But it is fascinating to see that the comic book industry doesn't seem to have a supply chain issue as much. And maybe they do, and I'm just not tapped into that world. But look at these foil books that were on Rob Liefeld's stream, and you can see that they appear to be similar to the makeup of a trading card. So maybe that's where the material is going. Maybe it's all going to the comic book industry, and Upper Deck, you know, it's just left waiting on materials. So the speculation is that Marvel Comics may be eating into the supply that we would use to make Marvel cards. All right, my friends, that brings us to the end of the Marvel card news for this week. And as always, we have an Instagram account that I want to feature, and our Instagram account of the week goes to none other than my friend Dan, VintageLord_Canada. Love that we have great collectors and ambassadors of Marvel cards in Canada. Canada has a wealth of cards. Well, wealth is that's probably too strong of a statement. There's not a wealth of Marvel cards, period, because there's just not enough of them. But however, they do have a great amount of amazing cards and amazing collectors in Canada. And Dan, VintageLord_Canada is one of those, and really love his IG account. He's an active poster. He's a great supporter. He has a lot of fun with Marvel cards, and just love being able to check out his account each week. And I want you to be able to do the same. So go, if you're not following VintageLord_Canada, go do so and go enjoy his account like I have. And lastly, I want to let you know that coming soon, probably as soon as August, my friend and myself, and probably my brother included, are going to be opening up this box of 1996 Marvel masterpieces. So keep an eye on the channel. It's going to be a big event that you're probably not going to want to miss, because you see these cards open up in single packs, and you're just not going to see a full box of 1996 Marvel masterpieces get open very often. So again, keep an eye on the channel for when that's going to happen. And that wraps up another week in the Marvel card news. If you're out there and you have any news that you feel like would serve the community, shoot me a message either here in the video comments, but it would be best if you could reach out to me on Instagram at SpideyHits. Love talking to the community, love hearing what you see as the news, and maybe it'll make the news, like Matt Cohn this week, who shared the sighting of Spider-Man metal, and he made the news. And lastly, we are really close to 3,000 subscribers, at which point we're going to give away a HasLab Sentinel, just like this one over here, but new in the box. So if you like this kind of content and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button. Do me a favor and Spidey hit that like button for me. And as always, I hope you have a marvelous day.